Have you had Miller Highlife?
Because it is, of course, the champagne of beers. Do you love the outdoors?
Do you love to travel?
Do you love finding hidden treasures in towns in the United States?
Well, welcome to Treasures of Our Town, the podcast that takes you on a journey to explore the unique and charming towns scattered throughout the United States.
Join us as we venture into the country's most intriguing destinations, uncovering hidden gems and local secrets along the way.
On today's episode, Josh, we visit Lompoc, California, and even chat with Lompoc's very own Gilda Cordova, who is president of the Legend Hospitality Incorporated.
Oh my gosh, Craig. Can you believe it?
This is episode 2.
We made it. We made it. I'm going to say it
2.
right now. This podcast is now official.
It really is.
We got trailer. We
Yeah.
got episode 1. And now we got episode 2, which is actually featuring a destination that not just I, but both of us
We both
have explored together.
Yes, and that is Lompoc in California. It's on the obviously on the west coast of United States. If you're not from the United States listening to this, and we were there only a few weeks ago now, Josh.
It's very, very fresh in our minds.
It really is. What brought us there, Josh? A GeoTour, I think it was, wasn't it?
A GeoTour brought us there, but let's just talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about what brought us there. Not just the GeoTour.
No.
It was the lure of California.
Yeah.
The lure of me getting away from being buried in snow for months. Do you realize that Minnesota has had snow on the ground for over 110 days?
Do you realize that New Jersey has had snow on the ground for like 0 days?
That's disgusting.
As I said last episode, Josh, it is still green outside. The flowers are still blooming here. It's warming up now as well. It's getting in the 60s. You know, it's during the day. It's quite nice.
I'm not going to complain much, but we're going to approach the 50s pretty soon.
Oh, but we were. I was going to say we were in Lompoc for this GeoTour, and obviously we were in California for munzee as well. Let's give a little shout out to munzee. We were there for munzee purposes, but also we then drove up to Lompoc, California, to do this GeoTour. And who we met? We met GSM times 2. I couldn't even think of the. I know this Scott. That's one geocacher I know his name more than his geocaching name.
Yes, Scott in Ojai videos. Check
Yeah.
out his videos. Great guy. He was really a big part of putting this GeoTour together.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even quite sure if we were going to be able to do it because our time was very, very limited.
Oh, it really was. It really was limited. It stretched down to the point where we'd even worked out to what hour we had to leave Lompoc to drive all the way back to LA to get the red eye back home.
I mean, get this, friends. We completed a whole GeoTour and
Yep.
caught a plane 3 hours away from the GeoTour
Yeah.
location. We did it successfully, thankfully, to Scott,
Mhm.
who we were just mentioning, because he was our official GeoTour guide. Wouldn't it be great, Scott, if we could have a guide wherever we go?
I mean, he sat in the front seat of the car. He had his own personal GPS device sitting on the dashboard with all the points ready to go as well.
And we're talking old school.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
yeah.
an old school. It was like a Garmin that he set up
Yep.
on there in the front. We're not talking cell phone. It was
Like-
was impressive.
It wasn't even plugged into the cigarette lighter, Joe. He had his own little power bank for it as well. I couldn't-
Just like any geocacher, he was so prepared.
Very much so. But anyway, so Josh, we've got a special guest today.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. We have Gilda Cordova with us.
Yeah.
And first of all, let me say, Gilda, I love your name. It just gives me Gilda Radner vibes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hear that a lot.
I'm sure you do.
So, Josh, people are actually saying to themselves right now, in their cars or sitting on their lounge or even like doing their chores, who is Gilda? Why is she on the show? So, Gilda, tell us who you are and why you're actually on the show.
All right. Well, I am the president of Explore Lompoc. Explore Lompoc is the tourism business improvement district, which was formed by the hoteliers in Lompoc. They came together and we assess a tourism fee to our overnight guests. And then that money we use 100% to market Lompoc as a destination for visitors to learn about Lompoc, what there is to do in Lompoc, and come back and visit us again and again.
And I am sure that marketing money went to the reason that Craig and I were recently there, and that was for the Lompoc GeoTour, which, let me just say, we had a great time, and we really enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. Some of our funding did, in fact, go directly into sponsoring the GeoTour. It has been exciting from the time that it launched to renewing it last year and expanding it. And we kind of plan to continue to have it for a long time as one of the things and activities to do in Lompoc and to come and check out.
And Josh and I really loved it. We really enjoyed every aspect of it. In actual fact, those of you who are listening, if you do not subscribe to Joshua's channel, go and have a look at Joshua's YouTube channel right now, and you'll see not part 1, but also part 2. We did a 2-part series, Josh. That's how good it was.
It was so good. We were thinking, what are we going to do? Do one video, but it was so good. You're right. We decided to do 2 parts.
Exactly, because there was a few people involved, wasn't there, Gilda? How many people were actually involved in the setup of the GeoTour?
So it was a collaborative effort, truly. The GeoTour came about from something that was an idea that was born from a NASA employee, Ginger Butcher, who served as the NASA Landsat Communications and Public Engagement Lead. And in the past, I had worked with NASA road team, which handled the public engagement for Mission to Mars that took place at Vandenberg back in May of 2018. And so from the great collaboration that we were able to do with NASA road team at the time and Explore Lompoc, they came back to the table and said, hey, listen, let's continue the momentum. We have this Landsat 9 launch mission. And so Ginger brought up the idea of a GeoTour. I have to be honest, I had never heard of a GeoTour before, but I had definitely heard of geocaching. And I knew that Lompoc was a bit of a scene for that. And so I said, well, let's just expand on that then. So it was a collaborative effort between NASA, Explore Lompoc, the city of Lompoc, who put in some efforts through their Parks and Recreation team to make sure that the locations and everything was scouted correctly for the vision that NASA had to be able to make this a reality. So it was truly a combined effort. And then, of course, there were geocachers that also created some of the geocache boxes that came in and were planted throughout the city. I mean, it was a huge effort that took us a whole year to plan.
I was so impressed with it. I as a geocacher, I target GeoTours. I use GeoTours to guide my travel. And so I have done several GeoTours, and it was very clear that you have taken your time to create it. You got the expertise that you needed to really pull it off in a really creative way. And from 2 geocachers, we're very seasoned. The quality of the geocaches and the quality of locations was really what made Lompoc's GeoTour so great.
Exactly, Josh. I can't agree any more with that. But not only that, the reason why, Gilda, that you guys had a GeoTour there was mostly about this whole Landsat stuff with the satellites, and my mind's blown when and all that sort of thing. Why is and it's called Lompoc, not Lompoc. That's right, is it?
Did I say it wrong? That was the one thing that they told me to do, is to make sure I pronounce it correctly, and I think I just pronounced it wrong.
But
Lompoc.
So, but Gilda, though, why is Lompoc? This is going away now from geocaching a little bit. Why is Lompoc so viable for the satellites and for NASA?
So Vandenberg launches satellites into the polar orbit. So the geographical location of Lompoc allows for Vandenberg to launch rockets without the threat of inhabited lands or launching a rocket that's going to go over people. It's unique in its location, the same as Cape Canaveral is in Florida, who launches in the opposite direction, and it close proximity to the equator as well. So that's what makes Lompoc unique and the perfect location.
And Josh, the word for Lompoc as well. Lompoc. Did I say it right? Yeah, I said it right. Lompoc. See, I'm always double guessing myself. They're saying is that there is space to explore in Lompoc.
Aw.
Did you know that? Yeah, because there really is. Like, it's a wide open space. It's a wide area.
Yeah.
We did have to travel a little bit to do the actual full GeoTour. It took us about 7 hours in total to do it, and that's with a driver and a guide. But I mean, apart from that, though, what else do people expect if they come to visit the Lompoc area?
Well, when you come to Lompoc, you have to be ready to explore. It's a call to action for our visitors. Expect the natural beauty of rolling hills, large open spaces, as you just said, rows of vineyards, coastline beaches, challenging golf. Expect to take a step back in time when you visit La Prisma Mission, which is California's most extensively restored mission. Expect large, vibrant art on city buildings, in city alleyways. Expect the thrilling experience of skydiving, jumping out of a plane from 18,000 feet. And expect, of course, the loud rumble of a rocket launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base. And aside from that, I mean, you have biking and hiking, swim activities that you can do with family and friends on natural trails in our local aquatic center and just our local bike park. So there's so much to do, and there's something for everyone here.
There really is.
And I think that is our biggest regret, because we had to catch a red-eye plane on the same day that we completed the GeoTour. So our biggest regret, and the reason we're talking to you, is that we were not able to experience all that Lompoc had to offer, because we were on a limited time schedule. But the cool thing is Craig and I, we saw it all.
Yeah, we did.
We were thinking, can we spend more time at that mission? Or, oh my gosh,
we
there's
saw the
another
mission.
beautiful mural there.
Yeah.
Would it be great if we had time to take more pictures? So,
Exactly.
yeah, it was very clear that the area had so much to explore, and we just barely scratched the surface.
Exactly. But if you're listening to this now and you want more information, of course, we've got all the links to this show in our show notes themselves. And there's actually a full guide on explorelompoc.com /guide. But that link's in our description anyway, Josh itself. But we did have a direct question, Josh, from one of our Patreons, and
Yes.
it was Jamie, and he asked specifically about the murals of Lompoc, and you've actually got a walking tour of the murals. Is that right, Gilda?
That is correct. So the murals of Lompoc are part of the rich heritage and the culture of this community. Lompoc is a community that embraces both the arts, musically and creatively, through murals that depict scenes of Lompoc's heritage, our flower history, historic sites, ethnic diversity, scenic beauty, and even space exploration. So our latest mural, as a matter of fact, celebrates the 50th anniversary of the history of Landsat being launched from Vandenberg.
We did see that, Josh.
Yeah, that mural was fantastic, and it was featured on the video.
Your channel, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, you can take a walking tour and experience the magnitude of the beauty of these larger than life images.
I have a question. One of the GeoTour locations was a lavender farm, and the geocache was flower themed. You mentioned Lompoc's great flower history. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so back in the day, this is probably 30, 40 years ago, Lompoc was the flower seed capital of America. And so you had great names like Bodger Seed, and a lot of growers were here. And Lompoc used to produce from its soils, it used to produce some of the most beautiful flowers and ship them all over the world. That has died down a little bit. A lot of our agriculture has turned to vegetation or food, and of course wineries, and so we have a lot less of that today, but we still embrace it as part of our history. We love it, and it's something that we hang on to as nostalgia, I guess, from the past.
Gilda, you have not seen that actual geocache, have you? The one on the lavender farm we're talking about?
I haven't. So when we went from 9 caches to 17, I have not made my way out there to capture all of them, but I hope to be able to do that. Yes.
Well, if you don't get to see it beforehand, then that'll be on Josh's video coming out this weekend anyway. Well, this weekend for us, but it'll already be out for those listeners anyway. So yeah, it's a great cache. You've got some great geocache owners as well that do look after their geocaches. High favorite points in this particular area as well. So that was all good. But I will say this as well. We had lunch in Lompoc, so there's a lot of places to eat. But my favorite was we visited a winery. Now, Josh, you want to talk about the winery? Because we visited this winery to do a cache.
Yes.
But we didn't stop there because we thought, well, we'll come back to the winery to finish off our day. And that's what we did. Josh, did you have a very special person waiting for you all over you that afternoon?
So the winery we went to was Montemar. Was it Montemar?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had an incredible conversation with the owner. And I want to put this word out to any geocachers that are listening that do the GeoTour. Take your time and spend some time at these businesses that allow the caches to be there, because it completely enriches the experience. And so we went into that winery, had a flight of wine,
Yeah.
learned a lot about the wine around the area. We actually had some wine that was from the singer Pink.
Yes, that's right.
I learned that she had a winery around there, and but I made a very special friend because there was a wine. I call him my little wine cat.
A cellar cat.
Yeah. It was a cellar cat.
It was a cellar cat. And the owner said to us as well, she said, "Oh, if you don't mind cats, then this one's going to be all over you." Well, you know what? Myself and Tim that were there, the cat didn't come anywhere near us. It was all over Josh. For some reason, they saw that he's a talent. He's in front of the camera. So if I want to get on camera, the cat says, I'm going to have to get on Josh's lap. And that's where it sat for the rest of the time. But yeah, the wineries themselves. Josh, did you know, I didn't even realize, but they've actually got a wine trail. Now, there's a downtown, there's a west side, but there's also a wine ghetto.
And that was where we were. We were in the wine ghetto.
Yeah.
Gilda, tell us a little bit about wine in Lompoc. And are we in wine country, or is this like adjacent wine country? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh no, you are in the center of wine country when you come visit Lompoc. I mean, the whole surrounding region, honestly, you cannot knock the entire Santa Barbara County wine industry, but Lompoc is home to beautiful estate vineyards in the Santa Rita Hills. That's the closest to Lompoc, and also to the collection of tasting rooms known as the Lompoc Wine Ghetto. But don't let the name fool you. The truth is that some of the world's finest wines come from the industrial park complex that houses the Lompoc Wine Ghetto. And you have some major names or labels, if you will, such as Pally Wine, Montemar, which you mentioned, Flying Goat Cellars, Ampelos, Fiddlehead, and Darkwater. That's just to name a few. But outside of that enclave of also you'll also find award-winning wines like Longoria wines towards the center of town. There's some wine tasting rooms in the center of town. And then, of course, Brewer Clifton. These are award-winning wines. And what makes Lompoc Valley and the Santa Rita Hills the perfect location for producing such a perfect fruit for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay? It's the climate. It's the climate that we have out here on the Central Coast. And it combines, the cool of the fog and the wind and the moderate sun that we get, and that just makes for the perfect climate and rich soils. So we're so lucky.
Fantastic. So we've talked a lot about Lompoc in just this short amount of time. If you were to give your quick pitch why people should consider making Lompoc area a destination, what would you say?
Oh my gosh, as president of Explore Lompoc, I live and breathe this community. I grew up in this community. Lompoc offers hometown hospitality. We have 11 hotels to welcome you with friendly faces and clean, comfortable accommodations. But everything from our food scene in Lompoc is also very homegrown, homemade, to the wine industry and to all of the reasons that I listed when we started talking about all the things that you can explore out here. There's so much richness. There's so much culture for such a small community. And then you also have the benefit of being on the Central Coast and expanding from here to other cities, other neighboring communities that have even more exciting things to offer. So honestly, Lompoc is where you want to stay, where you want to come and stay, explore, and then venture out from here.
Absolutely. And it's not only because, Josh and I, when we were there as well, we experienced it from an adult point of view with the wine tours and the margaritas with lunch, Josh, which we had 2 each. But apart from that, though, It is for families as well. Like, what else is there? If you've got a family of, say, 2, 3, or 4, what can a family do, like on a weekend, for instance, in Lompoc as well?
Yeah, no, we have great parks, great community parks. We have an amazing aquatic center. I don't know if it's something that you guys had the opportunity to visit, but it's an amazing aquatic center that we get the privilege to have in this community. And then, of course, Law Prism Mission. A lot of times you have actual docents out there that are explaining and that are going through, and you can make bread with them and you can knit with them. And so children love that, and being able to go out into the outdoors and pet the animals or ride a pony, whatever the case is. There's so much to do for families here as well.
Well, thank you so much for that, Gilda, and thank you so much for your time as well. We're going to leave you right there because we're going to get back to our show anyway. But again, thank you so much. And Josh and I, and on behalf of Josh and myself, we loved Lompoc. And we recommend it to anyone who is listening to go for a weekend or for a week, whatever you like. And you don't have to be a geocacher to go there, but if you are, you kind of get like little special avenues. So, and we did go to the water park, Josh.
We did.
We did.
There was a geocache there.
Yeah, I cut it out of the video because I think you thought it was a sewer or something. But anyway. No. We're in the back end. We were in the a parking lot sort of area, so you couldn't actually see in at all. But apart from that, thank you again, Gilda, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for coming out to Lompoc and bringing your visitors to us through your podcast. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was our first official interview.
It was, Josh. Do you think it went well?
I think it went very well.
I do too. And Gilda, she's such a lovely person, and she was great as well. Like, told us a lot of information in a short period of time.
She was so knowledgeable, and she helped us fill in some of the gaps because we really had a limited time there. Yeah. And I was so grateful to know what we actually missed.
Exactly. I mean, let's just say this as well, Josh. It was quite funny. As I said, I did cut it out of the video, but when we went up to the water park itself, like the aquatic center, we're behind the aquatic center. We'll just say this with Scott as well. Scott was there, and you looked around and you said, "Is this a water treatment plant?" And Scott could not stop laughing at that point in time. He's like, "No, this is the aquatic center."
I mean, was he laughing at that or laughing at the fact that I couldn't figure out how to open his geocache?
I think it was a bit of A and a bit of B.
It was both. And I'm going to blame it on the fact that I was very sick during this trip.
Yeah, you were, Josh. I will say that. You were very crook indeed. But let's go through the actual GeoTour first, if you like. There's not a problem there.
Let's talk about it.
We got up there. We drove from LA on the Saturday evening. We drove all the way. Oh, sorry, Tim drove all the way up, our driver.
Yeah, we should mention that not only did we have a guide for the GeoTour, we had our own personal driver, Tim, Minnesota boy. So, Tim, we know you're listening, and Tim, by the way, is a patron of this podcast.
He is. But we drove. What was it? Just over 3 hours north on a Saturday night.
Yes,
my
nose was draining.
It
was at a ferocious level. I couldn't breathe.
But it's funny because we were playing the munzee all the way up itself. The 3 hour journey up north. But then we got to a place called Orcutt, which is just north of Lompoc.
Yeah, we drove up the mountain.
Yeah. But when we hit Orcutt at about, I'm going to say it was 5 or 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. or something.
Oh, it was later than
later
that.
Than that, was it?
Yeah, it was at least 8 or 9 o'clock.
Oh, really? That late? We did get a bite to eat. Do you remember where we ate, Josh?
Oh, yes. We ate the only place that was still open, but it was very good.
Oh, it was so good.
It was sort of like a dive sort of burger joint.
It was.
It was called Charlie's Burgers, but there's a comma, King Falafel. So the name is Charlie's Burgers, comma, King Falafel. And you know what? The name basically describes it. They had really great burgers.
They really did. And Tim actually had these rolls. He had like a turkey roll or something. And because he ordered the large, it came as 2 rolls. So he saved one for breakfast the next morning. You remember that?
I don't remember that, but that's why there's 2 of us to recall our journeys.
Sick. You must have been sick, mate. Anyway, we stayed at the at Airbnb nearby.
Yes.
In Orcutt, and then we left early the next morning and drove down to Lompoc.
Should we talk about the Airbnb?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Like, let's.
So typically when Craig and I travel, the great thing about an Airbnb is that you can typically sometimes have your own room. Like 2 people can have their own room in one space just to have just a tad more privacy.
Mm-hmm.
But there weren't a ton of Airbnbs available in Orcutt. So we did the old, summer camp style
Oh yeah,
where we're
yeah.
all sleeping in the same room.
I've never experienced a summer camp in the US until like that night, Josh. So Josh was on the rollout trundle bed, we call it in Australia, like a rollout bed from the main bed.
Yep.
Tim flipped a coin and he got the main bed, and then I got the single off to the side. But it was all in one room.
It had a little kitchenette.
Yes, it did.
And we celebrated our great munzee adventures. And by the way, Minnesota boy got 1 million munzee points that day in one day. And that is, if you play munzee, that is quite an accomplishment.
It really is. It really is. And we lived, as we always do when we travel, Josh, we live the high life.
We sure did.
Josh has put me onto these beers. Now, when I first came to America, I've been starting to drink Miller Lite because that's what my wife drinks, and her friends, they drink Miller Lite. So when we go out, we get in a share and we drink Miller Lite. And then I went to where was it? Was it Yuma, when you and I went to Yuma? And you said to me, have you had Miller High Life?
Because it is, of course, the champagne of beers. It's a little classier.
It really is. Like, it's in the nice bottles as well.
I did a little research, I believe. Now, I might be giving false information here, so please look it up. That's what the internet's for. But I believe there's a little bit more carbonation in the Miller High Life.
That doesn't surprise me because I did taste it. It was more bubbly to me. So it was like the champagne of beers. So it's it's got more bubbles, so it's more carbonation.
We do not yet have a sponsor for Treasures of Our Town. So, Miller High Life, if you're listening, or you know anybody that works in the upper echelons. Echelons? That's not a word. We're going to cut that out.
No, not.
If we know anybody that works in the higher levels of Miller, hit us up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have any sponsors at all. We've only got those patrons. That's about it, really. But yeah. So then we after we had that night, and I think as well, Josh, as you had a couple of high lives and you weren't feeling too well either. So that didn't sort of you went to sleep pretty quickly.
I was very tired. It was a long day of munzee, but we were shooting videos all day
long.
We were shooting videos for munzee. We were shooting videos for Painted Rocks.
Yep, that one's coming out shortly.
It's a Painted Rocks app. I'm sure you'll hear more about that later.
Yep.
And TikToks, the whole 9 yards.
I think in total, Josh, on that one day on the Saturday, I think we did a total of 3 full-length videos, and probably I'm going to say maybe 8 TikToks
at least.
Yeah. On that one day, it was a long day.
So we were really tired.
Yeah,
but we got up early.
We had to,
and we headed to Lompoc. I said it right.
You did.
And the first place we went, we met GSM times 2.
And that was a coffee shop.
A coffee shop.
Southside, it was called.
Southside Coffee.
I remember. And the reason why I remember, Josh, is because Southside Coffee had my Australian type of coffee there, which is called a flat white coffee, which is basically it's espresso coffee with heated milk in it. It's not like you guys have with your creamers and all that sort of stuff and flavors. It was just delicious.
Did
you feel? I remember.
Did you feel at home?
Not really.
There wasn't any Vegemite available.
No, there was no Vegemite on toast or smashed avos, as we like to call them as well. So there was none of that.
But I think that was a great way to start the day because there was a GeoTour location there. There was a start of a multi-cache there.
Yep.
And that was where we saw our first mural, as we discussed before. There were murals everywhere. And I don't know the population of Lompoc, but it very much, where we started, very much had that kind of small town, downtown vibe. Yep. I love that.
And because it was a Sunday morning as well, like it wasn't busy at all. There was hardly anyone around.
Yeah, it was very quiet.
It was very quiet. It was very nice. But yeah, those murals themselves, and again, we were saying before, we're talking to Gilda about the murals. They are known for their murals, and rightly so. I mean, if you haven't seen your videos on your YouTube channel, then you'll see a few of those, just a few of those murals there as well.
Yes.
Question for you,
And
Josh.
yes.
Question for you. Your favorite? Can I ask your favorite geocache on the tour?
Oh, it had to be the one that I did not show on video.
and we can't speak about it.
The geocache we do not speak of.
Yes.
And some people are used to me, showing most things.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
get permission from cache owners, especially if the geocache is very prolific or great.
Of course.
And I got a comment on the first video I put out of the GeoTour, and the person was from Australia, and they were like, "Oh, great, you didn't show it, and I'll never get there. Please give me the GC code."
Yep.
But I'll just say this: that
Mhm.
geocache was great because it was by the sea. Now,
Yes.
I am a big fan. Now, I live in Minnesota, all right? I live smack dab in the middle of our country. I am far away from ocean on both sides, the west side and the east side. So anytime I have the opportunity to see the ocean, I stand by that ocean and I take just deep breaths and I take it all in. And that geocache was near the
Mhm.
ocean.
It was.
And it was something. Now, let's see. I have found almost 7,000 geocaches.
Yeah.
It
I'm
was
hitting 10.
something. That was a humble brag, but I'll
It was.
take it, or maybe not so humble. But this geocache was unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, and same here, Josh. I'd never seen one like that as well. And it's the types of geocache that we both enjoy, and that is the hidden in plain sight, handmade, hand created, not just. And I think you said it as well. Coming up in this part 2, and that is, you know. You can get sick of ammo cans just sitting under a log or whatever, when we talk about the winery as well. But but this one here, it was handmade, hand done, hidden in plain sight, and it blended in perfectly, absolutely perfectly, spot on with the location.
Yeah, that was for sure my favorite. But there was so much variety
Yes.
in types of caches. There were
Mhm.
gadget caches.
Yes.
They weren't even, they were simple, but they were
Mhm.
clever.
Yep. Yeah.
There were, I believe, 3D printed caches that were
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Again, this whole area is very hilly. So I remember
Mhm.
we were up at a park and we hiked up there, and you could see the whole area of Lompoc
Yeah.
from there. That was
Yep.
just gorgeous. And I said it before in the interview. What
Mhm.
makes a GeoTour great is great caches that are
Mhm.
well maintained. I'm going to
Yep.
emphasize well maintained
Yep.
in a really interesting location. And this
Mm.
one really did check off all those boxes, similar to like the Fargo Moorhead GeoTour, which is now no more, sadly.
What?
It's no more. Put together by our friend Gia, who is now a lackey, and so
Yeah.
it is
she
now no
moved out of
more.
the
But
area.
that's the two things:
Wow.
is great location, great
Yep.
caches that are well maintained.
Yep.
And that was this
absolutely.
tour.
Exactly. And there was different types as well. So there was traditionals. There was also multis. There was an earth cache. There was earth caches in amongst the GeoTour, letterbox caches as well. And did I say mysteries before? Yeah, but there was quite a few different types.
For those people
amongst
that are listening to this podcast and don't know about geocaching, Craig just said a bunch of stuff that you have no idea probably what he said. But to just summarize it, a lot of variety.
variety of types and variety of sizes as well. People
Yes.
understand size differences from micros up until larges as well. So
Yes.
that was pretty cool.
And so, like most GeoTours, I'll say most,
Mhm.
there was a reward for
Yes.
finishing it. So first of
Yes.
all, those of you that are not familiar with geocaching, if you complete a GeoTour, which is essentially a set of
Yeah.
designated caches
Mhm.
that are tied together,
Yep.
if you complete them, you get a little digital badge
Yes, you do.
on your profile, on your geocaching.com profile. So we got that. There, I
Mhm.
believe there were 17 caches, which is,
Yes.
gosh, perfect for one day.
Yep.
But
Absolutely
then
perfect.
also, inside each of the geocaches is a little code word,
Mhm.
and you put the code word on a passport, and you
Mhm.
turn that in to get a geocoin, which is basically a coin that has a little tracking number. It's collectible, and
Yeah.
it's just a great way to remember your visit. And
Exactly.
I'll just say my favorite geocoins are from GeoTours because I connect a memory to it, and I love
Absolutely.
that.
Exactly.
So, Craig, tell the people the unique way that people collect the geocoins, because a lot of times I'll contact the visitor bureau, because they're usually at a visitor bureau.
Yeah.
And I'll contact them in advance, because usually I'm doing these on a Sunday and they're closed and I'm traveling and I can't get it. But this tour had a very creative way to get the geocoins to the people that complete the tour.
It really did. It really did. They had the geocoins themselves in a hotel, dedicated hotel, and because like Gilda was saying as well, she's from the Hoteliers Association. She organised to actually have the coins themselves available 24/7 from the front desk at a hotel in the middle of town.
Yeah.
So how clever is that?
That's key. 24/7, you can get it
24/7
anytime. However.
As luck would have it, they ran out.
As luck would have it, they ran out. So they'll be sending our coins in the mail.
Yes, yeah, which we still get. We just and we were lucky enough to as well, because Scott was there, and Scott's obviously done the GeoTour as well. So he had a sample of the coin with him, so we could actually physically see it and feel it and touch it. It was a weighted coin. It was actually good size as well, which again features on your video.
And if you're listening to this and we are just painting just a wonderful picture with our words.
Well, we have to do that, Josh, because it's audio only.
Of course. But if you want to make that picture come to life, there are 2 fantastic videos that were very well edited, very well shot.
Thank you, sir.
And very well, the in-front camera talent.
Camera, yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
that guy should be on the Travel Channel.
Absolutely.
There is, I'd say, 17 minutes of just beautiful Lompoc. If you want to get a sense of what it's like, and I'll warn you, there's some spoilers on there.
Yeah, there is.
But I don't think watching the video will diminish your experience, because you got to experience it yourself.
Exactly.
Right? That's the point. The point isn't just to listen to us. The point is to get out there, right?
To get out there and find it yourself. And on the video, you'll find as well that we even were greeted by one of the cache owners themselves at the last one when you were talking about the lavender farm, Josh. He was out there.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite caches.
Yeah,
and
very clever, very well done.
Did a great job with
really
it.
did.
And he had my comic. He was one of the supporters of my comic book.
Yes.
And I got to sign the comic book on the hood of his car, which was just really cool.
Exactly. And he's managed to share us, because he's a fellow video creator to some degree as well. He managed to share with us the link to actually him creating that particular cache. And I think his name was it Mini Mag? Yes, Mini Mag.
That's right, Mini Mag.
Yeah, and he created the cache and actually had like a video camera on him while he was creating, and showed the inside and the outside of that cache, which is great to try and replicate, you know what I mean, in your area to some degree.
Yeah, I think we can put in the show notes the creation of that cache if you're curious. And I'll link it also to the video that you see me finding that cache as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. But yeah, anything we talk about is in the show notes. And if it's not in the show notes, then you're quite welcome to reach out to us on any of our social medias and ask for it. So, and go from there.
Craig, we could talk about Lompoc forever, I think.
I think we can.
I think we could visit again. I want to visit my dear friend, that cellar cat. That was a highlight. You'll see in that video, that cat just snuggled right up to me. We were besties.
Yeah, you were. And I will say this as well, and coming from a recording point of view, that video, that slow motion video of, number one, the fire pit. Remember, because the lady, the owner, she came out and talked to us about the wines and stuff, and she lit the fire pit just for us as well. So we've got video footage, slow motion video footage of the fire pit, and that beautiful footage of that cat snuggled in your lap. I could watch that all day long. That cat, that footage, I'll just say right there, that's just like chef's kiss to me. Like,
it was some of the best video and editing work of that video.
I really enjoyed it. But are we going to end it there, Josh? Oh, this is going to be the end of episode 2.
I believe it has to be. Sadly,
it has to be. Yeah. Unfortunately, it has to be. So if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us with any ideas. We did get an email as well, Josh, in the meantime. We got an email from Jersey Eric, his geocaching name is, and he was wanting to talk about the upcoming episode with you call it roadside attractions.
Yes.
Because he featured a roadside attraction that's here in New Jersey, which I've done, just saying.
Very cool. Yeah, we have that coming down the pipe.
Yep, that's
already have scheduled an interview with Valerie, I believe, and she goes around the country looking for roadside attractions, world's biggest things. She is the authority on that, and that's coming out. I think it's going to be coming out around May.
Yeah. Beginning of May, I think that one's coming out. And because she's got to do the second half of Route 66, I saw on her Instagram the other day.
Yes, and she has a book coming out in May too.
Yes.
That's very exciting for her, and we just want to talk about that.
Josh, we've got an email address. Jersey Eric reached out to us on our email address, and it is treasuresofourtownpodcast@gmail.com. Where else can they find us?
They can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the places, and just search Treasure of Our Town
Podcast. And it'll come up on Google search now too. I did it the other day.
Oh my gosh, Craig. And also, we ranked in Apple Podcasts for new trending podcasts in the leisure section. Did you see that?
I did. And the reason for that, Josh, because I mean, you know me, I'm the back end of this analytics stuff as well, is because people are out there and they're ranking our show. And thank you so much for ranking the show, subscribing to the show, and also putting rates on the show as well when they talk about it, so they can actually leave like a ranking. So that's pretty cool. But also, we do have a Patreon as well.
Yes. And I want to thank everyone who has supported us already. Yeah. This podcast is very young. We're on episode 2, but I believe we have 12. Is it 12 people?
Close. 11. We'll probably have 12 by the time this airs, but 11 so far on the on that app. And what they get as well for that, they get some behind the scenes stuff, some back end stuff. They get some more input into the show as well. Yeah,
there's parts of our podcast that we may edit out and cut out, but guess what? The patrons, they're going to get to hear some of that stuff.
They're going to get a little blooper reel. Why not?
Why not?
We're not ashamed of that sort of stuff. So as always, if you like this podcast itself, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on any of your favorite podcasting apps. And as always, John,
may your travels always lead you to the most unexpected and amazing hidden gems around the world. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.